Ladies and gentlemen, gather round, as if we're all huddled in a cozy anime cafe, because today we dive into the complete, heart-wrenching, and triumphant life story of a character who embodies the very soul of a classic Japanese anime heroine, Himeno. To truly understand a character like Himeno, we must first linger in the world she fought so desperately to preserve, not for its grandeur, but for its beautiful, crushing normalcy. Her story doesn't begin with a lightning strike of destiny or a prophecy whispered in her cradle. It begins, as so many of our own stories do, with the simple, unglamorous desire for a predictable life. She is, in her essence, the reluctant realist in a surreal world, and this foundational conflict is the very bedrock of her relatability and her heroism. Imagine, if you will, the aesthetic of her everyday life before the plot crashed into it. It's painted in the soft, watercolor palette of a slice of life anime. Her world was one of bustling, anonymous train stations during the morning rush, where she was just another uniform in a sea of students. It was the comforting, repetitive ding-ding of a convenience store door, the low hum of fluorescent lights, and the simple triumph of finding the last pudding cup in the display case. Her greatest concerns were passing midterm exams, navigating the subtle, unspoken social hierarchies of her classroom, and mustering the courage to maybe, just maybe, speak to her crush after school. This was her universe, a world governed by the gentle, predictable rhythm of the everyday. She wasn't a loner by any means, she had friends, she laughed, she complained about homework. But her dreams were modest, her ambitions small. She was, in the most profound sense, a background character, and she was perfectly content with that role. This is the first masterstroke of her character design. She is us. She is the audience surrogate, plucked not from a lineage of kings, but from the audience itself. This is why the inciting incident of her story is never a welcome one. When the surreal finally bleeds into her reality, it is not an adventure she embraces, but a catastrophe she endures. Perhaps it's the day the sky tears open in a vortex of impossible colors, and creatures of nightmare begin to descend. Or maybe it's the day a stern man in a dark suit, a public safety officer, shows her a contract and explains the brutal calculus of hunting devils. It could be that a family heirloom, a simple locket passed down from her grandmother, suddenly glows with an ethereal light, binding her soul to an ancient, grumpy spirit. The specific trigger is almost irrelevant. What matters is the tone. There is no excited gasp, no wide-eyed wonder. There is only terror, confusion, and a profound, gut-wrenching sense of wrongness. Her initial reaction is not to pick up a sword, but to run. To hide, to deny. This is the realist in her rebelling. Her mind, conditioned by a lifetime of logic and societal rules, scrambles for a rational explanation. This can't be happening. This isn't happening. We see this in so many of our most beloved protagonists. Think of Shinji Ikari's paralyzing fear in the face of an angel, not a righteous fury. Himeno embodies this same human truth. Her first battle is not a glorious showcase of hidden power, but a frantic, clumsy, and terrifying scramble for survival. She trips over her own feet. She freezes in panic. She might even vomit from the sheer, overwhelming sensory overload of it all. Her internal monologue isn't a cool, collected strategy session, it's a frantic, screaming prayer for it all to just stop. This reluctance is her greatest source of early weakness, but it is also the seed of her ultimate strength. Because she doesn't want this power, she is forced to constantly question it. While a born hero might charge in blindly, Himeno hesitates. She asks, why me? She asks, what is the cost? She sees the collateral damage, the shattered buildings, the terrified civilians, not as a backdrop for her cool fight scene, but as a tragic consequence. This empathy, born from her connection to the normal world, is what separates her from the fanatics and the glory seekers. She fights not for the thrill of battle, but as a desperate, last-ditch effort to restore the quiet, boring peace she once took for granted. Her initial goals are heartbreakingly small-scale. She isn't trying to save the world, she's trying to save her neighborhood. She isn't fighting for justice, she's fighting to get back to her part-time job in time for her shift. This smallness makes her journey feel immense. Every step forward is a monumental effort against her own fear. Every victory is tempered by the trauma of what she had to do to achieve it. The first time she is forced to take a life, even a monstrous one, she doesn't brush it off with a cool one-liner. She breaks down. She grieves. She is haunted by the reality of her actions. This emotional weight is what grounds the entire narrative. Without Himeno's very human, very relatable resistance, the surreal world she inhabits would feel like a video game. Because of her, we feel its stakes, its horror, and its cost. Her journey from this point of reluctance is not a straight line toward acceptance. It is a jagged, messy path of 2 steps forward and 1 step back. There will be moments of fierce resolve, where she stands protectively in front of someone weaker, a newfound fire in her eyes. But the next day, she might be right back in her room, clutching her knees to her chest, wishing she could just wake up from this nightmare. This inconsistency isn't a writing flaw, it's a mark of brilliant character writing. It makes her feel real. She is a person being slowly, painfully reforged, and the process is agonizing. In essence, the reluctant realist is the anchor that keeps the epic fantasy from floating away into the realm of pure abstraction. Himeno's longing for a normal life, her fear, and her very human flaws are not obstacles to her heroism, they are the prerequisites for it. True courage isn't the absence of fear, but the will to act in spite of it. And no one embodies this anime truism more than the girl who never wanted to be a hero in the first place, but became one anyway, not for destiny or glory, but for the simple, profound hope of seeing another quiet, ordinary tomorrow. If Himeno's reluctance was the anchor that kept her story grounded, then it was the power of her found family, her Nakama, that became the wind in her sails, forcing her to journey from that safe harbor into the terrifying and glorious unknown. This is not a mere supporting cast, this is the crucible in which her true metal is forged. Her journey from a solitary, fearful individual to the heart of a beloved team is the emotional core that transforms her from a victim of circumstance into a heroine of legend. Imagine the scene, a classic staple of our favorite anime, the unlikely assembly. It never starts with a well-oiled machine. It starts with chaos and clashing personalities. For Himeno, this meant being thrown together with a group of individuals who, on the surface, seemed like a recipe for disaster. There was the stoic, seemingly emotionless ace, a master of the blade or a powerful magic wielder, whose cold exterior masks a deep-seated code of honor. Their first interaction is likely one of friction. He dismisses her as weak, a liability, while she finds him arrogant and unfeeling. Then, there is the boisterous, hot-headed brawler, all loud declarations and insatiable appetite, whose impulsiveness is a constant counterpoint to her caution. He drags her into trouble with a grin, but his loyalty, once earned, is as unshakable as a mountain. And let us not forget the enigmatic mentor, scarred by their own past tragedies, who sees a flicker of something in Himeno that she doesn't yet see in herself. The development of these bonds is never instantaneous. It is not declared, it is earned. It is built in the quiet moments between world-shattering battles. It is the shared, silent understanding that grows during late-night training sessions under the moonlight, where the only sounds are her ragged breaths and his curt, precise instructions. It is forged over heaping bowls of steaming ramen, where the boisterous one insists she eat more, that she'll never get stronger on an empty stomach, and for a moment, the weight of the world lifts in a shared laugh. It is in the mentor offering a rare, almost imperceptible smile of approval after a technique is finally executed correctly. These are the moments where the walls around Himeno's heart begin to crumble. She realizes she is no longer fighting for an abstract concept of normalcy, but for these people. Their dreams become her dreams, their safety becomes her mission. This is when the iconic anime trope ignites, the power of friendship made manifest. It's not just a feeling, it is a tangible, visual force. When Himeno is on the verge of defeat, her strength spent and her hope fading, it is the memory of her comrades' faces, the echo of their voices, that triggers the glow-up. A surge of new energy, not from within, but from the bonds that tie her to them, erupts. Her aura flares with a new, vibrant color. A weapon she could barely lift suddenly feels light. A spell that required a long incantation is unleashed in an instant. This is the power of Nakama. It is the ultimate rejection of the lone hero narrative. Her strength is a collective strength. Her victory is a collective victory. The antagonist, who often champions a philosophy of solitary power or the futility of connection, is defeated not just by a superior technique, but by the undeniable proof that bonds are not a weakness to be shed, but the greatest strength one can possess. Himeno's story teaches us that we do not have to face our battles alone, and that true power is found in the people we choose to fight alongside. If the power of her Nakama provided the fuel for Himeno's ascent, then it was the searing fire of sacrifice that tempered her into the true blade she was destined to become. This is where her story transcends the typical shonen narrative and acquires a profound, often heartbreaking, depth. For Himeno, Growth is not measured in new power levels or flashy techniques alone, it is etched, scar by scar, into her very soul through the things she is forced to give up. Her legacy is not one of unblemished triumph, but of victory purchased with irreplaceable pieces of her own heart and humanity. Imagine the pivotal, soul-shattering moment that defines so many of our most cherished anime arcs. For Himeno, this is not a single event, but a series of devastating choices. The first, and perhaps most formative, is the loss of her mentor. This figure, the one who saw her potential and guided her first steps, often meets their end not in a blaze of glorious, victorious combat, but in a deliberate, calculated act of self-sacrifice. The scene is etched in our memories, the mentor holding back an unstoppable force, creating a precious window of escape, their final look to Himeno not one of fear, but of unwavering trust and a silent command to live. This loss does not simply make her sad, it fundamentally alters her. The safety net is gone. The comforting voice of experience is silenced. She is now, truly and terrifyingly, on her own. The grief is a weight she must carry forever, the first and most painful lesson in the cruel economy of her new world. To gain strength, you must first lose something precious. But the sacrifices only grow more personal. The next tier of this painful evolution asks not for her tears, but for her very identity. To protect her town, she might have to willingly sever the connection to the normal life she once cherished, making herself an outsider to the very world she is saving. To gain the power to win a crucial battle, she may have to form a contract that costs her a tangible piece of herself, her memories of her family, her sense of taste, her ability to dream, or even a portion of her lifespan. This is the ultimate rejection of a painless power-up. Every ounce of new strength is paid for with a piece of her old self. We see this physical and spiritual cost manifest in a new coolness in her eyes, a slight hesitation before a smile, a moment of quiet where she tries and fails to remember a cherished childhood moment that has now been erased as the price for power. The culmination of this theme is the choice no hero should ever have to make. It is the Kobayashi Maru of her journey, a scenario where every path leads to loss. Perhaps she must choose between saving a beloved comrade or saving a bus full of innocent civilians. Perhaps she must allow a sympathetic antagonist to die to prevent a greater catastrophe. These are not victories, they are strategic, heartbreaking losses. They are the moments that haunt her in the quiet of the night, the what-if scenarios that play on an endless loop. This burden of command, the weight of an impossible choice, is the final, lonely peak of her hero's journey. It forges within her a profound and somber maturity. The cheerful, idealistic girl is gone, replaced by a leader who understands the true, grim cost of peace. Her smile becomes a rare and precious thing, not because she is unhappy, but because she now knows the exact price of the world she protects. Her strength, therefore, is not a gift, but a debt she honors by living a life worthy of the sacrifices made for her. The final act of any great story is defined not by the climax of its battle, but by the quiet that follows the storm. For a heroine like Himeno, whose journey was paved in sacrifice and forged in the fires of connection, a simple, happily ever after, would feel like a betrayal of everything she endured. Her ending is not a perfect restoration, but a hard-won dawn, a dawn tinged with the beautiful, aching melancholy of memory. This is the Bittersweet Dawn, a conclusion that honors the scars as much as the victories, and it is what elevates her tale from a simple adventure to a poignant and enduring legend. Imagine the final scene. The cosmic threat is vanquished. The portals are sealed. The world, at long last, is safe. There is celebration in the streets, confetti drifting like cherry blossoms, and the relieved, tearful reunions of those she saved. But where is our hero? She is not always at the center of the parade. More often than not, we find her in a place of quiet significance, a windswept hill overlooking the rebuilt city, the familiar bench of her old school courtyard, or visiting a simple, well-kept grave. The soundtrack here is not a triumphant orchestral piece, but a solitary, gentle piano melody. This is her true moment of arrival. The fight is over, and in the silence, the full weight of the journey finally settles upon her shoulders. She has her piece, but it is a piece she had to build with her own two hands, and the blueprint was drawn with loss. The friends are there, her cherished Nakama, and their bond is unbreakable. But the circle is not complete. A chair is empty, a laugh is missing. They are together, but they are also united in their shared understanding of who and what is no longer with them. They have traded their innocence for this piece, and the transaction is permanent. Himeno can smile again, a true and genuine smile, but it is now a more complex expression. It holds within it the memory of sorrow, the gratitude for what was saved, and the quiet grief for what was lost. She has not gotten over her sacrifices, she has integrated them into the person she has become. This is the ultimate mark of a mature and relatable anime narrative. It understands that profound experiences change us irrevocably. The girl who just wanted a normal life can never truly return to that state, because she is no longer that girl. The world is safe, but her world, the simple, uncomplicated one she knew at the beginning, is gone forever. The Bittersweet Dawn acknowledges this truth. It does not offer a clean escape from pain, but rather the promise that one can learn to carry that pain without being broken by it. There is a profound beauty in this resolution. It tells us that it is okay to be both happy and sad at the same time, that victory can be both a celebration and a memorial. So, as we see Himeno look out at the sunrise, her eyes holding a universe of experience, we understand that this is not an ending lacking in joy. It is an ending rich with meaning. She has not just saved the world, she has curated a future worth living in, a future that honors every sacrifice made in its name. Her story ends not with the end, but with a quiet, powerful, and so, life continues. It is a legacy that feels earned, real, and infinitely more impactful because it carries the weight of all that was given up for its sake.